Just keep going.
Exactly that, brother.
All right, here he is, one of my all-time favorites. We were just talking about him with Gino DeMarco. Gene Matsook, brother Dan, nephew Ryan. It's all good in the neighborhood whenever I get a chance to stop by and say hello to his sister, his beautiful wife. But coming up at the incredible Rochester Library on Friday, Mr. Rob Matsey, that very well-respected state representative, is going to present him with an award because of how many years in coaching?
40.
40 years. And he's doing a little stuff today, helping our good friend out, Coach Lynn at Moon Township. But how does it feel now, not on the sidelines as a head coach, and it's almost Halloween? What's it feel like?
It feels a little different. You know, you got to get used to some things. You know, this would be getting your playoffs, so I'd be getting a little bit fired up for that. But, you know, helping out up at Moon High School, so they're having a good year, and Ryan Lynn and the staff do a great job. So it's nice just to be behind the scenes.
Listen, all I want to do, and by the way, we got a good one for you coming up Friday night. You fans selected it. So make sure that you tune in, and we'll just leave it at that. And then we have Selection Saturday coming up after I'm done on Saturday, which is a great event. I love the WPIL and what they do. Very exciting. But let's just reminisce a little bit, because I think of the Big Seven, and I think of some of the epic battles and players. And we were talking about Tyler Boyd earlier, Coach Nola, a great guy at Clareton. What were those games like?
I mean, it became a rivalry with Clareton. I mean, Rochester Clareton would either play in the playoff game or they're going to play in the WPL championship game. And so those games were incredible. I mean, great talent, great coaching. You know, kids respected each other, hard-nosed kids. And, you know, going against Tyler Boyd, I'll never forget, we were playing up at West Allegheny in a semifinal game. And, man, we couldn't stop him. He scored like 4 or 5 touchdowns that night. So he was just gliding. I knew that guy's going to have a pretty good pro career someday.
Think about some of these teams, though, back in the day. Obviously, Farrell, Clareton. I was thinking about Terrell Pryor recently, Jeanette.
Yeah.
Because the NBA season is tipping off, and I thought, you know, the guy could have maybe even played in the NBA. But I think people, because he went to Ohio State, got the championship, was the quarterback. But the guy was just a great all-around athlete, but he was a sensational high school football player.
Oh, great all-around player, and in basketball also he was good. So great athlete. Like you were saying about the conferences back in, Rob, I mean, like the Big Seven conference was Farrell, Monaca, Southside, Western Beaver, who were all at the highest level. And then, you know, you go to the playoffs and you had Duquesne, who was still involved.
Kevin Price.
Clareton. I mean, Class A football was probably at its highest and one of the best. And that conference was just a juggernaut year in and year out. And, you know, now with the 6 classifications, of course, things have thinned out a little bit.
Why do you think we love the WPIL so much and that championship? What is it about that WPIL championship?
I just think it's just the history of the WPIL and, you know, playing at Accushore Stadium, and WPL titles were what it was all about. You know, you'd be thinking about, years ago, they were thinking about not going to the state playoffs and just keeping the WPL championships. That's how much it was important to everybody. So, you know, I just think it's more in line that they got pride. You win a WPL title, you're proud of your, you know, in your counties make up the WPIL. So, you know, it's going back a long time. And the WPIL has put out some great football and some great football players.
Listen, I love the fact what they're doing at KDK, Allegheny Health Network, in conjunction with Highmark. My buddy who I grew up with, who's kind of running the show at Invisalign, the clear choice for a better smile, and all the people that are sponsoring, and that radio, that theater of the mind. It's so exciting. But that championship day, man, there's nothing quite like it. And you were always there to kind of kick things off at 11. Do you understand what you actually did with this football program? I mean, it was almost like a given. And the same thing with Clareton and Farrell and the epic battle of the bridge with Monaca. I mean, family going against family, relatives. I mean, you can't write this stuff.
Excitement every week, you know what I mean? And then you had the local rivalries. So you had the, you know, Western Beavers and the South Sides and all the local teams around here, Beaver Falls playing, you know, Beaver. And, you know, you had a lot of rivalries in the county itself. And so, but like you said, something like the Monaca, you know, playing Monaca at the end of the year with the big rivalry and going to, you know, the bridge game. And, you know, I just think there was just so much excitement. I think people rally around their towns and their schools and their teams. And you know, it was really a great time. And it's just a shame now that the rivalries are gone. and you got to play teams that are out of the county, and it really watered it down a little bit with the thinning of the 6 classification. So it's a shame. There are some rivalries out there that still go, and that's a good thing. But there was a lot of excitement back in. It was a lot of fun.
Listen, I only had gone one time because I was doing games in Ohio for 20 years, but I, at this one night, got the opportunity to call the Rochester-Monaca game. And I've been hearing about the hype forever. The Lyons family, the Matsook family, I've been hearing it from everyone. And I'll be quite honest with you. I thought, okay, look, man, I've been around sports a long time. How good can this be? So I pull up to Monaca, and I'm just kind of looking around. I'm like, are those people like up on the roof? They were literally on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah, it was. You know what? In the two communities, they played hard nosed. There was no problems within the team, no fights, and that just showed you the pride of both teams and both communities. And I never forget Craig McConnell from Fox Sports Net. Craig was part of all that. He goes, "Can I ride the bus with you guys when you go over to Monaca?" I said, "Sure." I go, "I want to film it." He got in the back of the bus, and we always came over to Monaca at the last minute.
Oh, I know.
And he filmed it. And he said he got off the bus with me. That was one of the best experiences I ever had. So it was a lot of fun. Great rivalry, like I said. It lived up and playing for the biggest trophy around at Bridge. So, but it was a lot of fun and good sportsmanship and a lot of great games.
You realize your brother and Coach Lyons, these guys grew up playing for these schools and playing against Rochester or Monaca. So this thing had some bloodlines to it.
Oh yeah, because of the relationship with with my mother being Mark's mother or
Right.
sister. So. It was a lot of fun, and Marky's doing good for himself right now.
I love Mark.
So he's done a great job with that. So, he was always a good coach. So, but it was a lot of fun. My mother and his mother would always debate over everything. They were the ones. They were the ones that always argue with each other. So.
And then you got his brother Eddie, who's like he's always moving, man, always talking.
yeah.
I ran into him in Sheets a while back, so it's always good to catch up with them. All right, now let's talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions, okay? Look, I know the love Joe Paterno, obviously, that opportunity because of Derek Moore. You met him, recruiting trip, one of the really last recruiting trips he ever made. What's up with college football right now, Coach?
Well, it's become a business. Kids don't go to the schools and they don't have loyalty to the schools anymore. It's more about the money now, and I'm a backup quarterback, I'm a backup quarterback, and somebody wants me, and they're going to give me $1 million. I'm leaving,
And I'm going to play.
And I'm going to play. And it's all about the money, and it's a shame because you were going to college to get an education, and have a good experience playing college football, and hopefully you get to go to the draft or whatever it may be, but that's very rare. And so now that the NIL got involved, and the NCAA let it run wild, and now there's no stipends. It should be across the board. Now it's pay whatever you want. Schools got to raise money now. It's really, I think, out of hand. I really think that's why Nick Saban got out. Enough was enough with it. And two, the transfer portal has been a problem.
Ooh.
They had 2 transfer portals. One's right during the bowl games, and so kids are leaving. So one's right after spring ball. So a kid can go to spring ball, and then next thing you know, well, I'm leaving. I got NIL money. I'm going to Missouri. Well, you just had spring ball with us, and you're leaving us now? So the loyalty is gone. I think college athletics is not what it's supposed to be anymore. It's about the kid getting an education and kid going to school, and now we're playing for money.
Is the NFL losing their feeder system, do you think?
That's a good question. I don't think they're losing it because, these kids are still playing college football. So, for whatever team they're playing for, it doesn't matter to the pros. All they care about is kind of telling you got, and so I don't know. I just think the NCAA should have came across with a stipend for all kids, and it's the same amount.
That's kind of what Gino was saying to Marco
amount, yeah.
tonight.
You can't say, well, you get Rob Pratt gets $1.5 million, and I get 40,000. Like, what's the difference? And we're all college players. They're going by position. So if you're a quarterback, you're going to get high amount of money. If you're a lineman, you're going to get probably a little bit lower. So now it even goes different positions. That different positions get different money, and it's all about winning a championship, and they're buying the championships now.
We are going to talk a little bit about the Steelers, but I got to talk about this coaching carousel. So the Florida coach gets blown out. Word today, Florida State coach may be going. Dion could be heading back to his alma mater. I mean, right now, Coach Narduzzi looks to be the most stable of the whole bunch, and if you'd have told me that a couple of weeks ago, I'd have been scratching my head. But Franklin now, they got to pay him $49 million. If he gets a job as a broadcaster or a coach, they got to kind of make up the difference, right? But he loses 3 straight. Obviously, Northwestern, UCLA, not good. Oregon, I can hang with a little bit, but he never really could win the big one. But man, who makes that decision and who writes that check? These athletic departments are making $100 million a year, but when James Franklin, even though he's had some moments that haven't been so good, has rolled the dice in his favor for so many years, and he's gone, who gets the job? I mean, all these different names. Who are you going to replace him with?
That's a great question. I think, with the Franklin situation, okay, so he's having a bad year. Okay, so you let him finish the year out. Let him, everybody has a bad year. Hey, look at Brian Day. I mean, he lost to Michigan. They were ready to run him out of Columbus.
I don't know how he survived.
And you know what? He stays, and the AD has a lot of confidence in him, and he stays. And
Juggernaut.
He goes and wins a national championship. So, you can have a bad year. Now, you come back the following year, and you're doing the same thing, then, you got to look at some things. So then I think the contracts are too long. You're going to have these college coaches give them a 10-year contract, an 8-year contract, then you better be ready for a buyout. And that buyout's going to be a high amount. So think of Penn State right now. You paid him $46 million. Then, if you hire a new coach, you're going to pay him, what, $10 million? Maybe, who knows, $15 million? So there's $60 million that you better have ready to go, because you're paying Franklin, and you got to pay a new coach who's coming in. So a lot of money transitioned there, and I just think that these long-term contracts have to go down smaller. If they're going to have buyouts, then you need to get the long-term contracts down to shorter terms, because coaches ain't going to last. I mean, 5 years is longevity.
Well, here's an example how crazy college football is right now. Look at Cignetti at Indiana. First off, who would have ever thought Indiana would be anything in college football? It was always a basketball school, Bobby Knight, right?
Right.
But Cignetti's 64, and they give him a deal after he just got a new deal. And it's okay, it's good, it's capitalism. But this guy's 90-some million. Yeah. I mean, at Indiana, where's that money coming from? Who's got pockets that are that deep? I don't care how much your athletic department is making. And they've only really started doing it in football recently. I mean, that's a lot of change.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Somebody's donating a lot of money to those schools. And the big hands that are alumni, who are wealthy people who are starting to give the money to the schools. And I think, they're paying out a lot of money. And like, what would be his buyout? I'd be curious to know what Cignetti's buyout is if he gets fired within 2 years. Wow. So it's expensive for all universities now. I mean, you're paying for the head coach. This is just the head coach, and then you still got an NIL for the players. So there's a lot of money that's generated.
You think Gruden will ever get a chance to coach again?
That's a good question. I think he.
I deserve it.
I think he deserves it. Yeah. To the pros anyhow. I mean, the pros are like a revolving door. It's a carousel where, you have one bad game and you're on.
See, even though this is frustrating, and we always talk about all sports, Coons Market, Black and Gold Sunday show, I still love it. Like, Coach Neuheisel's son, UCLA, what he did, that'd be a guy I'd be looking at. But, I mean, it runs in his bloodlines. But there's still things about it that Matt Rule at Nebraska, putting them back in the top 25 for the first time in forever. There's certain things that still excite me about college football. I love it.
Sure. They're still amateur kids, and they're college kids, and I think the excitement and of the teams, the SEC and so forth, and the Big Ten. I mean, just really good football games, and I just think we're letting the big money get in the way.
That frustrates you.
And that's very frustrating. That you want to watch a sport that these kids should be going to school for the right reasons.
Does it take something away, in your opinion, of the national championship? Despite many people, including me, I love the playoffs and expanding of it this year, but does it take something away from it now, the championship in college football?
Probably a little bit, but I don't think not too much. I think these kids that are, these people that are trying to buy a team, buy the good players, NILs,
and that is happening.
And that's happening. So they're building their teams up, almost like the NBA. They all want to get traded to go to build up the elite team. So still college football is exciting. Football is exciting, period, and you just hate to see these outside things that are happening with coaches firings, NILs. Pressure is building more now because of the NIL and for these contracts that these college coaches are getting.
One thing Gino said, and we'll talk some of DeMarco earlier, then we're going to talk some professional football. Gene Matsook. he said you got to win now everywhere. Is that a fair statement?
I agree. I think if you don't win, you're gone.
At any level.
That's where we're at now. I mean, it's filtering down to the high schools. High schools have a bad year, or the coach didn't treat a kid right. He didn't play his kid. It's filtering down to school boards. The school boards are pulling the trigger a little bit faster than they normally would.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with high school coaches, of course, it's only 1-year contracts, most of them. They don't get that 5-year, 10-year contracts anymore. So they're opened every year, which makes it easier for the boards. But college and pros, it's a whole different ballgame.
All right, pros, we love our Steelers. Who would have ever thought we'd be talking more about the offense than the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers? What happened against the Bengals? I mean, Flacco has two of the best, and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and Flacco can still throw the football, make no mistake about it. And I think they knew that. That's why they went after him. The bigger question is, why would Cleveland send a quarterback, their starting quarterback, to a divisional team in their same division? But that's over and done. Flacco keeps him upright as hopefully Burrows gets back. But what happened to that defense? I mean, that's why they brought Slay and Ramsey in. And I know we saw Joey Porter at NA and do some incredible things, and in college as well. A lot of penalties there. Some say that the NFL game has become too quick to throw the flag league. But what happened to that defense?
Yeah, it was kind of a little disappointing. I thought that, you got a backup quarterback that was just traded. And
He frightened me, though,
you give up 40
honestly.
points. I mean, that's a lot of points. I think Chase, the receiver from Cincinnati, made a point. He knew what the Steelers were going to do.
How's that possible?
So that tells me that you're doing the same thing every week.
So Austin's got to mix it up.
So I think Austin got to change the defense a little bit, mix it up a little bit, the coverages. Don't give him the same look sometimes. Show him, man, belt his zone. Go zone, belt him the man. So I think that his comment after he made that comment told me that if you knew what he was going to do, then...
Well, let me ask you something. I've watched you with your players' films, okay? And I've seen other coaches do it. I've been around the game. I'm going back to 8mm film, to videotape, to DVDs, digital, you name it. I've seen it all. Does film study can it really show that much?
Yeah, I mean, film study is, really shows the X's and O's that they do.
But for Chase to pick up on that.
So him seeing like what they're doing coverage-wise against another team, and then maybe he played them they play him twice a year.
Right.
So he knows them very well. So he must be, his comment was, he's been seeing the same thing with Pittsburgh with their defense.
But why can't they stop the run either, though? What's up with that? Is it just an aging defense? Why can't they stop the run? Since Casey Hampton left, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
They've not been able to stop the run.
Yeah, they've been struggling up front. I think, their forward linemen, I mean, I like the rookie, he's going to come
Harmon.
on. But I think, with, the other one.
Cam Hayward.
Yeah, Cam and them guys are getting up a little bit up in age, so, they're just getting knocked off the ball. When you watch them, they just get knocked off the football. It isn't like, they're missing tackles or they're getting a surge
blown off the line of scrimmage,
and knocking them back 2 or 3 yards before the running back's even touched. And that's a concern, I mean. And if that's happening, then of course you're getting to your linebackers, and you're in trouble with the run game. If you can't stop the run in the pros, you're in trouble, and because it's just going to open up everything else for the passing.
So that's why T.J. Watt hasn't been as familiar sacking a quarterback, although he's still good. It's because they're running the ball against the Steelers because they know they can't. Their opponent knows that they can't stop the run.
Well, T.J. his main strength is sacking the quarterback.
Right.
But you're running at those guys. It's still a different story now. You're getting a body on a body. And so you're getting 200, 315 pounds on T.J. Watt. That's tough to get off that, So, they run those zones, and they got big people in there. And like I said, they're getting movement. They're moving the D-line.
They're kicking those linebackers out, too. That's how these guys are getting into the secondary. Yep. Hey, but what about Mike Tomlin? And I get a little frustrated with people because, right away, he's losing the locker room. I don't think he's lost the locker room, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. But I think he's a defensive coach. They just got to have a little come to Jesus meeting, I think, to talk about that defense. Because honestly, Aaron Rodgers, I don't think you could ask anything more of this guy.
Listen, he's been the biggest surprise of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Amen.
And what he has done has been tremendous for them. In fact, they can probably buy another year with him.
I hope so.
If the quarterback draft isn't real good this year. So they can wait a year to get a quarterback and use him for another year if he continues to do what he's doing.
But, Coach, listen. This is my thought process, and you're much smarter about this than I am. I want to see what Will Howard can do.
I agree.
This kid is 6'5".
Yep.
He's the prototype. As much as we love the Lamar Jacksons of the world, you got to be big and strong, and I've seen it with Ben, Herbert at times, obviously Josh Allen. You got a guy 6'5", 240. We saw when Ben was that age and what he was able to do. And every place this guy has gone, from Pennsylvania as a high school player to obviously Kansas State, I think, and then he ends up at Ohio State, he wins.
Right.
And he had some high-profile receivers during his time at Ohio State. And DK Metcalf is a high-profile wide receiver. I at least think you got to take a look at the guy.
I agree. I think the comparison to Ben was good. I think he's Ben. I mean, he's got the height, he's got the arm, he's got the vision, and he sees the field very well. I mean, I know at Ohio State he did a tremendous job. And he was a pocket guy, and he scrambled when he needed to, but he just reminded me of Ben. And I think you're right. Don't overlook him, because sometimes the draft ain't going to be as good as what you have there. So hopefully they can keep working. It's a shame he got hurt, and hopefully he can come back here and get some reps some way with the practice squad or something.
Well, listen, I'm going to go to the library tomorrow here in Rochester, interview his sister. I'm a big fan of libraries. They're so important. They're a key to knowledge and opening that door as far as the future for young people, but even people like me. It's nice to kind of just spend a little time and soak up some of that knowledge, and what a treasure it is to have one here in Rochester that's been around a long time. And we're going to do that tomorrow. He's getting his award on Friday with State Representative Rob Matsook, a good guy, and this is a great guy. So let me ask you the last thing. How did you win so many football games with so little as far as numbers are concerned? I mean, everybody played both ways. Everybody was on a special team. I mean, how did you do it year after year after year?
Yeah, I always say
decades.
I think the key was I had a great staff. My staff never left. Most of my guys stayed with me, and they were former players, so that definitely helped. You had a commitment of the community. The parents, they had a commitment. Our administrations back in the day that were all, we were pulling 45 kids back in the day. Of course, the numbers have gone down, but
45?
45 back in my year.
That's impressive.
Stop it. So, so as the years went, we were able to keep that consistency. And I listened to Bill Chirpak the other day, and Bill says, it ain't about the wins and losses. It was we built a program.
He's a great guy.
Even though Danny started it, we kept it, and we kept building it. It stayed consistent of a winning traditional program for all those years. That's a long time.
Now, let me ask you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Brother Dan won the first WPIL in Rochester since the 1920s or something like that?
Our first one was in 91, and that was the first time since 27. Now, they went to the finals in 82, all right, and now they lost. So, 81, yeah, 80, it was 82. They went to the finals and lost. But winning one, that was our first one since that time.
So I've been doing a lot of stuff with that wonderful Larry Bruno Foundation. If you haven't been there, you got to check it out. It's breathtaking. But I always have to bring this up when I think about Joe, and we still talk from time to time. The most ironic thing of all is when that big game was played, and I'm sure Pat Summerall, Mr. Brookshire were on the call, CBS. Babe Pirelli was the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They both played for Bear Bryant. Kentucky for Babe, obviously Bama for Joe.
Yep.
Just a bridge and a few pieces of pavement separate those two schools. He was Joe's backup. I mean, is that not like, how does that happen?
That's pretty fascinating when you think about that, yeah. That's
How
exactly
good, listen, just because I like talking about him, how good was Babe Pirelli?
No, they said he was a great athlete. Skip Doyle, back in those days, he was a good running back for them, and he might have went on to Notre Dame. And so
Was Phil Colella from around here?
Phil Colella.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Yeah, Phil went there, that's right.
Yeah.
Those guys were
I got to tell you a
good
quick story.
athletes back at.
The legendary Mr. Camp, the late Danny's father, God bless, Danny and Cheryl both have passed away. So important to my journey, and I love that family. But I remember one time, my mother actually worked for Mr. Camp back in the day, but he told me a story. He was on a troop train going somewhere, and they had a radio, and Colella was playing for Notre Dame, and he was returning a kick. And he heard his name, and it was like, oh my goodness, kids from Rochester playing for Notre Dame. So,
Speaking of Babe Pirelli, I have a picture with Babe. All right, he came with the NFL, presented schools a ball from the NFL since Babe played in the NFL, he went to Rochester. He came to Rochester and presented us with the ball. So I have a picture of him and I took a picture of him with him in the school. So.
You would know this better than anyone, and I got to get a mention in. Larry Bruno. I didn't know him that well. I knew of him, and we had a couple of casual conversations, but I'd since left the Valley and went to Ohio. And I'll never forget, I'm in the press box one night at Patterson Field, and somebody said, honestly, I haven't seen anybody run the ball here like that since Larry Bruno. And I went, Larry Bruno? Did not know that he went to East Liverpool. Did not know that he went to Geneva years later. Did not know that he got drafted in the 12th round by the Steelers.
Yeah.
But he was just always so joyful to be around. But what was it about this guy that made him such a great coach?
Yeah, I mean, he started, the old full house backfield back there. Everybody ran it. We still ran it, you know what I mean? So, but, he was a great, coach, a great X and O guy, Coach Joe Namath. And, did a lot of great things for Beaver Falls, that's for sure. And he coached Monaca too, I think.
He did, yeah. And some basketball there,
some
too.
basketball too. So I think he started everything, and everything that he did at Beaver Falls, a lot of people took with them. And but he was a great coach and a great man.
Well, this goes out to Jermaine and to Derek Moy right now. And I'm going to tell you, I love both of those young men. But make no mistake about it, their father, the late, great Jerry Moy, was a heck of a football player.
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, when I had Derek and Jermaine in high school, and we talked about Jerry all the time.
Oh, I loved him.
And he was great. I remember when Joe Paterno came to town, and so we went down to, they were recruiting Derek, and we went down to the house, and Jerry was asking, he was there, and he was asking like 18 questions. we told him, don't ask any questions. He asked them a bunch of them, but they were all great questions, but great family. I mean, really, the boys are a great family, and you can see where their sons got their athletic ability, because Jerry was a good one.
But he was a hard-nosed football player, and you talk to anybody who loved Beaver Falls football, as I did and still do, he led the way for the greatest, maybe one of the greatest of all time, to White Collars.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. You hear Jerry's name a lot in Beaver Falls.
Listen, a lot of people said, when I was working at that other station many, many years ago, my first meeting of Larry Bruno, he was there to do the Larry Bruno show, and he came in that orange and black starter jacket, it just looked great, the ball cap, and he brought Dwight and I think Jerry with him into the studio. And somebody said, man, Coach, you just stick around forever. What's the reason? He went, you're going to meet two of them right now. Oh, good stuff. Listen, congratulations on all your success.
Thanks.
And just continue to do what you do. But I got to just say this, now that Miami lost to Louisville, we got to give a little credit to that Coach Narduzzi. He's kind of got things going in the right direction right now.
Absolutely. It's good to see Pitt going that way. And, he works extremely hard, Coach Narduzzi, and, he's had longevity. A lot of people think, he's going to get let go every year, and he stays, and he keeps working with Chris LaSalle. LaSalle is up there. Chris is a Hopewell guy, he's a county guy, so Aliquippa guy. And so, they're on the right track. Hopefully they can continue on.
Wouldn't it be nice, though, and I understand it's all about location, and this whole thing's come up about the turf, and Pitt needs to get, even Ben on his podcast, football, and they need to get, some other place. Wouldn't it be great, though, if you could build a standalone stadium, about 40,000 in Oakland? I mean, it would be great.
Absolutely. I always think playing at NFL fields, it doesn't give you
the same appeal.
It doesn't give you the appeal that a college stadium does. And why Pitt can't find a place. It doesn't be right on campus. They don't have no room on campus. Maybe there's a field somewhere they can. Should never got rid of the old one. They should have just kept it there, because it's still a bowl.
Hey, can you imagine the guy who saw young Dan Marino at St. Regis and went, uh-oh, and he ends up going to the University of Pittsburgh? Can you imagine? I was a kid, even myself back then, but to see a talent like that, I mean, once in a lifetime. And when Johnny Majors comes in, he has Jackie Sherrill as an assistant, and Jackie said that his one job was to be at the bus stop to make sure Dorsett got on that bus to go to school his senior year. Yeah. But how great Tony Dorsett was.
They had a thing on the other day. I don't know if it was on ESPN or what it was about, but I know it was about. It was about Pitt winning their national championship, and they were showing Dorsett highlights. Amazing. Quick.
What I remember
fast.
The most, we were talking about Notre Dame. What I remember the most is the game he had against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Over 300 yards. And I remember watching him on football. I think Monday night he had that kickoff return of like 99 yards or whatever, or from scrimmage. He used to just glide.
Explosive.
Low to the
explosive.
ground and just glide.
It shifts on in a second. Boom.
You've had some great running backs, and I'm going to say it here. I'm going to go on record and do it again because nobody ever seems to listen to me. I believe the greatest running back in the history of Beaver County, if not the entire, and I'm talking about some great ones, right? Essex Law.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Essex was
You've coached some great ones,
one
but
of the best.
what made him so good?
You know, he was 220 pounds. And he ran 4.4. You put that combination together.
He ran a 4.4.
Yeah, he was a man amongst boys. I mean, he would break tackles. He would accelerate. His vision was excellent. His agility was great. And there was times we had to tell him to run out of bounds a couple times because he was like, we were winning like 35-0. We told him, listen, we'll get you 200 yards. Just if you break it, go out of bounds. He broke it. He ran out of bounds, of course.
Listen, I can tell you this. We all think of the Tony Dorsetts, even the Poe James, who from this region that makes it to the NFL.
Sure.
But there are so many that could have played on Sunday, but for one or another reason, they didn't.
Right.
Essex was one. Brian Davis, who played for Coach Montecalvo at
Yep.
Wash High. So I think when you think of the WPIL and its greatness in high school football, it's always nice to look at the player who could have been the greatest but didn't make it to play on Sundays.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the best WPL players. I mean, it's what they did in high school. And, these guys were just, Terrell Pryor was in there. These guys were just terrific, great athletes that when they played, they did a lot of damage, and they were great players. I mean, they played at a high level with high potential. And so, I mean, that's what makes the WPL special also, with all the great athletes that's come through, the great teams that have come through, the great coaches that have come through. I mean, it's the biggest district in the United States.
You remember Lou Falcone, right?
Louis, I knew Louis well. He was in a conference.
Farrell. So as I've been doing this a long time, folks. We were doing the TV thing long before anybody else at Rhino, and we've got so much footage. One of these days, we're going to make a documentary that you're going to just want to see because of the great WPIL. We love the Whippeal. But anyway, so I go to Farrell to do an interview with him. He says, just go sit in the gym. I'll be with you in a minute. And this is who I am. So I'm sitting on the stage waiting for him. Diet Coke, just hanging out, eating pretzels. I look up. I see all these banners. The Farrell Steelers. And then this guy sits next to me. He's a janitor, and we start talking about basketball and the history of basketball there.
Absolutely.
Coach.
McCluskey Gym.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it when I go down to Midland, obviously, at Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
Coach Bariski, what he's done is, forget
Right.
about it, second to none. But, oh my goodness, I hope people understand. Like they were talking about the Dan McCann luncheon, who used to, the club
Right.
Duquesne team,
Yep.
worked for Iron City for years, that Sam Clancy was there.
Yeah.
Think about Pittsburgh, City League, Fifth Avenue, Shenley, back in the day, Maurice Lucas.
Oh.
The talent.
Oh, my goodness. Extraordinary basketball talent back in the day. Even the City League now, look at the football. It used to be high level. Perry, all those teams, now, it's all, dwindled down a little bit now. So.
Although I got to tell you, Dante Green, I've been to Westinghouse recently,
Yeah.
over the last year. He's got something good going on there with
Yeah.
the Bulldogs.
Oh, yeah, he does a good job discipline-wise and so forth.
Listen,
Speaking of Dan McCann, look behind you. There's the Iron City plaques that he used to give out.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
2002.
Yeah, when you won the WPIL, you went to the Dan McCann's
Luncheon. Right.
That's what they gave you.
Yeah, Gino was just there. But listen, I can't thank you enough. And somehow, some way, we're going to find out how to do a gig together and talk a little football. He's one of the most knowledgeable people of the game. But listen, I'm going to ask you, why'd you stay at Rochester for so long when you could have, and I'm glad you did. I lived here for a while. My family's from here. But you could have went anywhere, Coach.
Yeah, I just think, the grass ain't real green on the other side sometimes. And you already established your program.
Right.
And I just think I think another unique thing, you asked about, wins or whatever it may be, but I think staying at one school for longevity, what I think is one of the biggest accomplishments we had. We didn't, all our wins, all our championships, all our tradition, everything was at one school. We didn't go to, I didn't bounce at 5 schools or whatever it may be. And I take pride in that in the sense that we were able to stay that long in this day and age when school boards want to open your job up and, oh, we're not going to be good next year, so I'm leaving. A lot of people would jump ship right away, and we stayed with it, and we felt we a great program that we built, and took a lot of pride in that. And the thing about us, everybody knew Rochester across the state of Pennsylvania, and that says a lot.
Yeah, these coaches in that Big Seven always say to me, I know you're rooting for Rochester. Come on, you're rooting for Rochester. Anyway, congratulations on this award, and much deserving. And I got to just say, your sister in that library, it's a special part of Rochester.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of history down at that library, and she works extremely hard to be the director down there, to keep it going. They've gone through some directors, and she's been established down there, and she puts her time in every day and tries to make it the best. And I told her, well, that's a good thing. You're at Matsook, so you better make it the best.
No,
you got to live up to it.
And by the way, new ownership, Buzzy's Pizza, the pizzas are flying off the shelf. So I saw a picture on their social media page. Guess who was in the picture? One of my all-time heroes. And when he said, just rip up the IOUs, it was the best day of my life. My dad picked up the tab. Chucky Kugel, Kugel Brothers Gas. Listen to me. That's Kugel Brothers gas station was my hangout. Absolutely. I love those guys. Chucky bailed me out more times than not. What a legendary. I mean, you had Armando. Listen, Armando's used to jump to the point on Thursday and Sundays that the line was like Studio 54. You were at the door 2 hours after you really got there, because the line would go all the way to Kugel's gas station at the corner, Deer Lane, and I mean it was unbelievable. In '68, that's the kind of crowd that place used to get. But Chuck Kugel and that great family ran that service station forever. If they got half the money that was owed them, they'd all be living in a mansion somewhere. They were just some of the nicest people ever.
Right.
And those dudes, they worked hard, man.
Yeah.
Come out on a night like this, turning a wrench.
Yeah.
Come on now. All right, Gene Matsook. Don't forget, Coos Market Black and Gold Sunday Show and Selection Saturday, the great WPIAL and Championship Saturday. You can feel it in the air. It'll be here before you know it. Have a great night, and remember, there's always more sports at 937thefan.com.